Now let me get this broadcast started on out the way. God is good all the time. Once again, I repeat that. God is good all the time. Now, everybody knows who I am by now. As you don't, my name is Rutledge. I am the 2021 candidate for governor of Virginia, running for the Republican nomination, and it is alive and well. Now, let me get this out the way also. I know I'm smelling some trash, some fecal matter, garbage, pieces of crap, and all the trash that's going on out there in Kentucky in regards to this Breonna Taylor case. I have stayed silent enough. I heard enough. And I have told people one thing about me: I really don't give a damn. I call it the way I see it. And right now, I'm smelling a steamy pile of Democratic bullshit. Now, the reason why I can say this, because right now, the Kentucky Attorney General is going through hell right now. And you deserve it. But also at the same time frame, there's some other players who hasn't gotten any attention. And they should. Which is that Democratic piece of crap, that gun taker called Andy Beshear. Really don't give a damn how I say your name. But you've been hiding, ducking, and doing whatever you can do to grab the TV attention when it's comfortable, and then run like the cockroach you are when the lights come on. Now, this is the story I got after I didn't rush to conclusions. I didn't make knee-jerk reactions. I wasn't being a cheerleader. I wasn't burning down bridges and burning down homes and businesses. I was out here paying attention to exactly the issues and not having all that emotion that Democrats have with the yellow going down their back and crying 24/7 with them fake tears. Now, it's my understanding, police got a warrant, a search warrant, to go to Breonna Taylor's home for whatever reason. Regardless of the situation, they had a magistrate who signed off on the warrant, a no-knock warrant. Now, anybody who knows me well, I'm not for the no-knock warrant unless all other means has been exhausted. Meaning there's surveillance done at the location to make sure children and any other dangers or pitfalls that police may encounter that puts people in danger, including themselves, is properly investigated. Obviously, if this would have occurred, obviously we may not be faced with this situation, but either way it goes down the line, Breonna Taylor also had some people around in her life that put her life in peril. And sometimes we can put our own selves in peril by having these people around that ain't up to no good and definitely ain't doing anything that's going to further you in success but leads you to failure. And that's exactly what it looks like happened here. And it happened more ways than one. It is my understanding that the police knocked and yelled police. It is uncertain whether the people inside the apartment of Breonna Taylor knew the police was out there or not. Regardless of the circumstances, this is what has happened. And somewhere during the night, the boyfriend Breonna hears people breaking into their home and goes to the firearm, the boyfriend, and gets prepared to defend his property. Now, one of my things is about this situation, did you hear the police? Did you not? It doesn't really matter right now. Right now, I'm really on to something else. And right now, I'm picking up on a scandal and a conspiracy. And that's exactly the way I see it. Now, if it was me, Breonna Taylor would not have been nowhere in the line of fire. First off, I don't know too many men out there that has their woman go with them into a dangerous situation. Normally you tell them to hide under the bed, do whatever you got to do as I get prepared for war, especially if I think it's an intruder. Now, that didn't happen. Supposedly from the story the boyfriend gave out was that Breonna Taylor fired first. You are not going to get excused with that one, because you sold out Breonna before the police even got involved from the jump. And you already knew who you was going to blame it on. That doesn't make you a man. It makes you everything that isn't one. And of course, you are here to live. And that's the sad thing about this situation. It's always those who are not involved, quote unquote, that always catches the bullet, not the people who set up the circumstances. Now, as my understanding, they go out and approach the door. A shot is fired and police fire back. That's exactly what happens in a gunfight. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. But the thing is, the bullets hit Breonna Taylor and did not hit the person who actually fired the shot, even though that person claimed that Breonna Taylor at one point was the one who fired those shots, if you get what I'm saying. Now, 6 bullets enter Breonna Taylor's body. A total of 32 shots go off. So you know it was a lot of gunfire. A lot of making sure whatever threat that the police perceive but behind that door is mobilized. Now, the understanding is that they had information to say that the ex-boyfriend was still living with Breonna Taylor or using that address for other means. The fact is, the bullseye was put on Breonna Taylor from the men in her life. That's what happens when you hang around and consort with those who don't give a damn about your welfare and that are using you to continue their trade, even though the dangers of that trade is evident all over America. That's a fact here. So no matter how you look at the window dressing on this one, we didn't have a situation where Breonna Taylor lays dead and police officers are now being called into question about the actions that they took on this particular night. And now a city is on fire because the truth is being suppressed and not being told to the people. And that's exactly what happens when you have Democrats running your government trying to cover up for their own bullshit. Don't think Attorney General Dave Cameron is the one responsible when you have Democrats calling the shots. Dave Cameron was being a prosecutor that was fearing the mob. Not only was he fearing the mob on the street, he was fearing the mob, the mafia, the corruption all over his state. And that's exactly what happens when it rains down on you. Now, this is why this whole thing is so screwed up, because see, I look a lot at the issues and I look deeper into the details, and then I get the smoking gun, and the smoking gun tells me everybody told Dave Cameron what to do, and instead of Dave Cameron stepping up to the plate and saying, I'm going to do my job, forget all of you Democrats, forget all you mobs, forget all of that. My job is to make sure law and order is preserved here in the state of Kentucky. And he failed at his duty. That's just a fact. You do not run, you do not hide, you don't become a coward, you don't follow the nice little celebrity bandwagon. You do your damn job, and you do it well. Now, from the police interpretation, they wanted all the facts out there because they knew the narrative that the liberal media was giving out there was wrong, and they wanted the whole truth on the line. I don't meet too many police that want complete transparency in their investigation that calls into question of misconduct, unless they feel like had the public known exactly what had happened and all information that was available, would not come up to the interpretation that they did, which caused the riots there in Kentucky. And they are right. See, I'm the only candidate who has been in the riot. I'm the only candidate who has stopped the riot. I'm the only candidate that went there and told the public, I'm coming to Danville, I'm coming wherever I want to go, and I'm going to come and get the truth. And that's just the way it is. You may not like it. You may not like how I get it done, but I get it done. Now, if they was taking notes of that, what was one of the number one things we did to make sure the public found out the truth? We told them the truth. We put the videos out there. We put the actual evidence out there to let people make their own call. After that time frame, the riots dispelled, and Merle Rutledge cut his vacation short from Florida and went back on home the next day. This ain't Danville. This is Kentucky, and this is why Kentucky has the problems it has. Now, what happened is the Democrats saw the media. They got a little attention. That's what they want. They want the cameras on them. And you saw all them pieces of trash, the governor, all his little Democratic buddies, all them gun takers and defund the police and all them pieces of trash. And they was all eating up the news coverage right after George Floyd. Oh wow, Kentucky getting some attention. Screw you, Andy Brashear, and screw the rest of y'all Democrats, because exactly your actions cost people lives. It cost police officers lives, caused small businesses to be destroyed, and also at the same time frame, it made everybody figure out who you really are, and that is a bunch of jackasses selling out the police and making sure everybody else hangs to dry through your smoke and mirrors, and y'all go on to the sunset. Not today. I see that all the time frame in liberal cities where this type of conduct goes on. The last time something like this happened, it happened with the Ryan Frederick case. A lot of people forgot about that one when the police came in there in the middle of the night. But the difference is, instead of Breonna Taylor being dead, it was a police officer who ended up being dead under the same type of circumstances. And guess what the liberals and the Democrats and all of them did? They blamed it on everybody else. The police blamed it on the citizens. They blamed it. They would have blamed Jesus if they would have known Jesus could be used as a scapegoat. Don't you see it today? And I'm telling the truth, because guess what? Aren't they blaming God right now because they want the devil's work? And I'm just not going to play into that game. Actually, Dave Cameron screwed the hell up, but he had a lot of people helping him. And there are a lot of people in his ear trying to make some stuff go away. And realistically, the truth would have cleared everybody, even to the police officers. But the fact is, the media didn't want that. They wanted the soap opera of controversy that they keep peddling all over America. That's why they want Biden to win. They don't want Biden to win to be the president. They want Biden to win to be their puppet. Period. And we can't have any more of these little animals and these sniffing Joes and these smoke crack hoes, whatever it may be, that comes out of this Democratic mess that happened. Period. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Breonna Taylor and the boyfriend, yes, I understand 2A. Boom. That's exactly what happens. Police officers still, this is gunfight until it all clears itself out. But this wasn't intentional. This didn't have anything to do with race or anything like this. This had everything to do with the fact now from executing a search warrant has came to deadly force. And realistically, when you're faced with this type of situation, whether the person understands or knows or whatever, police are not mind readers. Nor could Breonna Taylor and the boyfriend be mind readers. The fact is, this was a chaotic situation that exploded within a matter of minutes. Exactly. With guns being fired back and forth. Now, where my problem comes into play is not only wasn't the real story put out there, Dave Cameron made things worse with the grand jury. You know, a prosecutor's job is to present their case, not present what they feel like it, not present what the governor wants or what the police want or what the citizens want. You are supposed to present your case in its entirety and allow the grand jury to make that call in its entirety. The fact is, had that been done, I believe not only would the police have been acquitted, no charges would have came out, and there would not be this type of controversy over what happened in that grand jury room. Some say the grand jurors was thinking it wasn't a justified homicide. We don't know, and nor can a grand jury even give out that type of statement, because you just said you did not get the evidence based on homicide charges. So how can you tell me? And that's where the liberal media be screwing with people and stuff like that. They're like, oh, well, I didn't get the homicide charges presented. Okay, that's fine. But how can you say, oh, I don't think it's a justified shooting if evidence related to the shooting wasn't presented for the homicide? See what I'm saying? How quickly they jump on anybody to say whatever they want said so they could put a headline out there, and then all this chaos keeps going on back and forth. The fact is, had the evidence in the case been presented, whether it led to indictment or not, that's exactly an American tradition. It's a right, it's a value, it is a touchstone of us all having a fair trial. Because the police was on trial based off of that grand jury just as much as anybody else is when a grand jury is presented with evidence and have to make the decision that indictment is warranted based off the information. You do not decide and pick and choose and none of that. You put that case forward. The problem was, see, when you're rioting and burning down buildings, BLM, Marxists, and the rest of them, sorry, the public ain't that sympathetic. Because guess what? You ain't burning down the politicians' homes or their businesses. You're burning down the people who you want support from. So, I'm sorry, you made the bias in the grand jury. You made the bias in the whole situation. And you stupid Democrats, on the other hand, y'all was just eating it up for fundraisers. I want all of those who protested, find out how much campaign cash did you give to Democrats or others give to them during the time frame of the Breonna Taylor case. That's why they wanted to stretch out how the information was given out, because they wanted you to keep being their little ping pong, their little puppet, and while they play puppet master and play with the strings. And that's why the case, had it been presented in the first 3 days to the public about what actually happened, not these different versions and all this other stuff that the media wanted to cook up, we would have had this situation resolved, the riots would have ended, and people would have went on about their business, and the focus would stay on justice. And once that became a celebrity thing, not about justice, that's when all the problems came up with this case, and that's exactly where the confusion came from. You know, and notice, I'll tell Democrats and the rest of them that's all, you know, saying that they helping the black community and all this other stuff. Well, where was they at the last couple of decades? But they surely showing up this year, and they're showing up for cases that doesn't make sense to even have an argument. Now people are just jumping on any police shooting or anything, and notice the media is writing it a certain way, but just last year they wasn't writing it about that the certain way. They were putting out the same, you know, character destruction that they normally do. But now all of a sudden, oh, if a shooting happens with somebody black against somebody white, oh, the black person is right. No, that doesn't give an excuse because of your race. That's the liberal media making that racism come in at that point. You see what I'm saying? Because the fact is, what happened between that person and whoever shot him. That's what the people want to know. Forget the race part. Let that part play itself out and allow people to make a conscious decision on that. Because right now, what you're seeing is a whole bunch of hate from both sides, because both sides is getting whatever piece of the pie that the media wants to give them. They want to give out all this hate to the other side so they can spew it back. And guess what the media has? Oh, the backlash. Oh, the public outcry. Oh, shut up. Seriously. Because even with certain cases, like with the Rashad Brooks case, we know that was a justified shooting. You turn around with a taser, whatever, it's nighttime. Nobody knows that's a taser. Only thing they see is a flash. And guess what? What does a gun do? Flash when it shoots. I said that was a justified shooting, but guess what? They fired the officers, but they didn't do that for the last couple of decades under the same circumstance. And you wonder why the police is pissed off? And you wonder why the community is so confused, because they think I could break the law, and if something happens to me, it's the law's fault, not the person who created and manufactured the circumstance. That's the problem right now. And what I'm doing with my campaign or whatever, and with me even addressing the Breonna Taylor situation, I'm saying stop putting yourselves in these situations. If there's no crime, you don't encounter no police. And on the other circumstance, we're saying we're trying to save your life so you can have a productive future. We're not trying to put you in a situation where not only do you destroy your life, but you face your lifetime in a prison cell just because you acted off of emotions instead of off the facts. It's a damn shame how many people are facing a life sentence right now. Had they known the facts, may have not made that decision. But now they're sitting back and saying, damn, maybe if I had waited a little while and found out a little bit more, I might not have put myself in that situation. The fact is, I'm trying to make sure you don't put yourself, or anybody, I don't care what race you are, in these situations to face these type of situations or encounters. You know, because right now, these encounters, let's just be factual, less than 1% of the shootings by police, you know what I'm saying, less than 1% out of nationwide results in a white or black situation where the liberal media tries to pull off. But in Chicago, in Compton, in Portland, in Baltimore, and all these different places, we have these killings going on. It's like Iraq every single day in America. But guess what? The liberal media doesn't want to concentrate on that. They just want to concentrate on the life that sells to the public that they can exploit so Joe Biden could win the election. Because after the election, you think they're going to pay attention to Chicago, Baltimore, all these other places that's going on with all these different murders and all this stuff like that? No, they are done with you. Once the election's over, they only started this pro-BLM marches, all this other stuff, because they knew the Blexus movement, the walkaway movement, all these different things was happening at a time frame where they needed to control exactly what goes on in that White House. And now they looked at that part, so they had to find different controversial issues to blow up and make people feel this civil war. The civil war is not going to be after the election. The civil war is really going on right now. And this is a civil war of ideologies, where ideologies is turning to violence because people believe so much in what they believe in. But the fact of the matter is, the leadership from these different groups and more, that's where the problem is, because of the education that they have at this point. I'm sorry, a 19-year-old kid can't tell a 40-year-old to a 60-year-old how to live and how to survive when this person is barely out of the house and they just facing the world as it is right now. We know how dark the world is. We know what it took to survive. We know exactly what somebody's doing when they're trying to commit suicide, though, too. When you get older, you want more peace. As you're younger, we all been young. And Breonna Taylor and the rest of them, yes, we understand how being young and being around a bunch of fools and those who get you into situations, and sometimes it works out where you walk away and sometimes you don't. And this is one of those type of situations where the cards were stacked against Breonna, you know, and that's the way it is. But Breonna, at the same time frame, whether you living or you passed away, you still have to own up to the fact of, I've allowed these people in my life, period. And had I not allowed these people in my life, maybe things would have changed up and went differently. Just because you doing good doesn't mean you are immune, or that basically puts you out of peril. We face peril as soon as you walk out the door. And this time frame, the peril showed up to the front door, and looking at all the circumstances throughout the time of when this search warrant was executed and the decisions of people's past, this was going to be a result of it, whether intentional or by mistake or whatever. The fact is, this happened. And I understand and feel for the parents and the family of Breonna Taylor, because y'all not getting the truth either. But you need to look at the governor's office on that one, because they got all the evidence and information that you need. That grand jury testimony and all this other stuff. The fact is, let it be released. Allow people to make their own decision. Because right now people are just jumping on to whatever side or whatever it may be based off the information that they have. And you can't blame them. If they are really gunning for the fact that the boyfriend was a coward and Breonna put herself in this situation or vice versa, that's exactly what's being presented by the liberal media. And vice versa on the other side. Y'all getting the police was wrong, this was done. Guess who's all benefiting from all this chaos? And the fact of the matter is, there was no intention to kill Breonna. There was no intention to have shots fired. The fact is that all these different type of elements and whatever you may want to call it happened. And this is exactly what happens when police are faced with this situation and vice versa. There was no racial animosity or anything to that. The people who fueled that one was the media, because when the media came out about this, they said white cops shoot black. Do you think they would have ran the story the way they is if it was black cops shooting black, white cops shooting white? This happens all over the country, right or wrong, but this is the only time frame where you start seeing the racial dynamics put into stories to make people get fueled. And sometimes you get fueled with the wrong type of gas. And that's what happened. This is like your car runs on 87 and you go to a pump and put in 93 and your car ain't running that well. That's because when you get the wrong information, you go off of things the wrong way. And that's what happens. It's always a cause and effect. So the fact of the matter is, had transparency been done, people had backbones, from the attorney general all the way up to the governor's mansion, and followed what the police had already said, put the information out there. The police got put as scapegoats for the decision makers of that locality, which is ran by Democrats and liberals. And the thing is, this lets you know how educated these leaders of these leftist groups or whatever are, because they don't even understand how government works. If you ask them who the city manager is, or who the chief of police is, and who they answer to, the city council, your whole problems exist because of your local government and allowing Democrats and liberals to keep giving you a drug they've been flooding your communities with, and you haven't seen your lives get better. All you have seen exactly is be used for the purpose that they want you for, and then after they're done, they just throw you away. Period. And now y'all seen the results, but you don't want to get mad at them because they look like you, talk like you, act like you, but that may be the reason why they fucking you over, because you're using that to make your decision. And the fact is, the very people y'all need to start holding accountable and addressing, don't address the police, don't address the hard-working Americans out here and their businesses and the churches and stuff like that. Your problem, you march by every single day, and you want to continue to say you're protesting for the right cause, even though you are asking for redress of your grievances with people who ain't even involved in the decisions that go on there. The decisions and what happens immediately happens with your local city government and those officials and employees there. But people took the time to read up and find out exactly who is responsible for this and that. Then you may have your answers. So, as far as I'm concerned, did the police do anything wrong in this situation and vice versa? No, they didn't. I cannot even give that one to it. Gunfire was shot. They had a warrant. And, of course, they want to go home just like anybody else do. Breonna Taylor was a casualty. In regards to the situation, it's a tragedy. The wrong person gets hurt and shot. But the fact of the matter is, the boyfriend was the first one to say Breonna Taylor was the one firing those shots. And people keep forgetting about that. But I don't, because it showed me exactly what you was there for and your purpose. Your purpose was to sell out your girlfriend for something that you was going to do, and when it went wrong, that's exactly what we saw. So, as much as people want to say the police ain't giving out, no, that boyfriend ain't giving out that much transparency. And the rest, the ex-boyfriend at least said, hey, Breonna didn't have anything to do with it. The ex-boyfriend was more of a boyfriend to Breonna than the one who's up there trying to be on TV. You know, and I can say, yes, prosecutors will try to get themselves out the mess and make deals to do whatever. But the fact is, it's your job to tell the truth and stick to it. The prosecutors, the liberal media, the rest of them, that's whatever they want to do. The truth is still the truth, no matter what. And once you start buying and selling a lie, you're just as bad. So the reason why Breonna Taylor is dead right now is because of all the people around Breonna Taylor that brought death to her door. And that's exactly why Breonna Taylor is dead at this time period. Yes, police ain't perfect. Nobody else is perfect. But the fact of the matter is, this is what happens when you keep the wrong type of people in your life and you don't have a cutoff to it. There's a lot of people who work great jobs and still want to be that bad boy, bad girl type of situation and keep some of these situations around. But that's the risk that you play. That's the risk that you take because of the decisions that you make. And sometimes if you don't push all that negative out your life, yes, it will come to kill you. And it may not be your boyfriend. Sometimes it's going to be your best friend. Period. And some people may not like how I concluded this Breonna Taylor thing, but this is me speaking the truth because I think enough information has been put out there, and right now people just trying to keep the story going, the chaos, the madness, the confusion going, because the liberal media just wants something to cover. They'll cover a damn monkey running around hopping at a tree and say, oh wow, that monkey shot somebody. See what I'm saying? The fact is, it ain't about the monkey shooting somebody. It's about the fact that the monkey represents what the media thinks about everybody. They think they can play everybody as fools. And realistically, looking at how people make their decisions, and even with our country on the line, and you voting for Biden and whatever, and you ain't understanding what's going on right now, and you don't have a reason to vote for Democrats other than the fact that you hate somebody else. You see what I'm saying? People ain't looking at the bigger picture. And us that's older, we're saying we want a future where y'all can grow and become who you want to be. That's what we want. We want you to have a full life. But we also understand the consequences that come with bad decisions can end your life. That's why as good leaders and mentors and parents and more, that's why we stress so much not for our kids to put themselves in these type of situations. Be around people that's going to help you out. Boss up. Make sure that you become exactly what you want to be and put the right nourishment into you. What happened is the nourishment was in Breonna, but there was a lot of poison that was killing off any good of that nourishment. And that's just putting yourself backwards when you're trying to move forward, but you stuck on that limbo. You know, that limbo of, if I want to stay doing good and I want to keep these bad people around. You can't have it both ways. And that's exactly what the devil wanted in this situation. Breonna Taylor's death is a tragedy. But the fact is, the story behind that death needs to be taught to everybody to understand how life goes when it comes down to situations like this and the people that you have around you. Because anybody can say they ride or die. They can say that they, a soldier or whatever. I look at what happens when the situation really calls for it and what you really do. And what we saw right now is Kentucky is just being ruled by a mob. It's either the liberal mob or the Marxists, one or the other. And if the family of Breonna Taylor wants to blame anybody for why there isn't enough transparency in regards to this investigation, they need to start looking at all those burning buildings and all those shootings and all that crap that's going on from all sides. The Democrats using it as a campaign fundraiser, not really about justice, and the rest is just calling these different shots. Once you have all of that, this whole story about what really happened, nobody can trust and nobody can believe. So at that point, the people who need to be blamed for all the madness that happened out there, you blame Democrats, you blame the liberal media, and you blame the Marxists and left groups that used it for violence instead of putting their attention and focus on justice and what really happened. This didn't have nothing to do with the police officers fanning the flames. They did their job. It just didn't go the way people wanted it to go. But the fact of the matter is, all these different elements let you know why people don't trust the justice system. What people want is the truth. You did wrong, go to prison. But if she's innocent, let the evidence bring light onto it. People don't care about your race or whatever as an excuse. They just want to make sure justice is served. And when you have been done wrong, that you are treated with respect and that wrong is righted. So, speaking out on the Breonna Taylor case, that's my opinion and decision on it. I lived a long life. I'm happy about the direction my life is going in. But, yes, we all have been Breonna Taylor in some kind of way, whether you're old school conservative or not. We all have had people around us at some point in time where we said, "Son tells me not to be around you," but we are just fortunate to be blessed by God's grace that situation didn't cost us our lives. There's nobody who I know, whether you're a millionaire or not, that hasn't had some toxic people in their lives, and they had to find a way to push themselves back out in order for them to say whatever was left of them and move forward. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes God doesn't grant you that opportunity. And that's why I think it's so important for people to realize that your life is worth more than other people controlling it. Have your own independent mind, be focused, but you put yourself in these type of situations, this is what happens. And I hope people learn from this and move forward and understand that, one, the government is not your friend. Just because somebody looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, doesn't mean they represent you. And to watch out for the people who you have in your company. You can only do the best that you can. So, this is my conclusion to it. So, my name is Merle Rutledge, 2021 candidate for governor of Virginia, running for the Republican nomination, breaking my silence on the Breonna Taylor death. Thank you and have a wonderful day.